Stand by, we're checking.
7037, if you receive any trawler calls in the vicinity of 4th Ave and Olympic City, please notify.
Rampart 80, possible between them and suspects Alexandria and Beverly. Beverly and Alexandria. See the juveniles at tape when advised. Being followed by a blue Mitsubishi and on license plate.
2 cops, copy, log on. Alright guys, welcome. Welcome back to the second episode of our podcast, 2 Cops Talk. We changed the name to 2 Cops Talk because 2 Cops Cop Talk was too much for cops. But again, I'm joined by my coworkers, gaming partners, friends. Drumroll please, Flying Fuzz and Roxas. What's up?
What's happening, guys?
Hey.
You're so dry.
Flying. There's flying.
So dry. It's a good thing we have Roxas here.
I'm tired. You kept me up all last night playing games, and I was up at noon.
Hey, it was fun though. Why'd you get up so early?
I couldn't go back to bed.
You're crazy.
I'm used to that swing shift life.
Yeah.
Drew, are you going to be able to handle the night?
I don't know. I'll probably fall asleep around
Flying
3.
Fuzz is doing a ride along with me tonight, which means instead of being on my motorcycle, he'll be in a car. I'll be driving him around. He's going to learn how to do all the cool stuff that we do on our motorcycles, except we'll be in a car. Are you excited?
Yay.
Oh, apparently.
Holy cow, the excitement flowing out of you.
Yes, exactly. That's the most excited I've ever heard him. All right, guys. Just to kind of touch base with last week, we talked about who we are. We introduced Flying Fuzz. We introduced Roxas. We dropped their Instagram and Twitter handles. In short, we talked about what the podcast is going to be. So basically, we're here to share stories, answer your guys' questions that we get, and then just have a good time and just develop good relationships. I already have a question. I'll save it for later. It's a pretty good one. It's going to cause a lot of controversy. Yes. It's going to cause a lot of controversy, though. We also touched on last week's news story about somebody trying to evade the police by swimming down a river. And I believe this week, for our news story, we have not only swimming and running, but our whole podcast today is kind of about running from the cops. So let's go to Flying Fuzz for a quick news story, and I'm going to get my video ready to play for you guys.
Well, he didn't necessarily run from the cops, but we'll get into it here. A Louisiana man faces charges for swimming in a sporting goods store fish tank. It happened in Bossier City, Louisiana. Is that how you say it? Police in Louisiana were able to reel in a man. Oh, wow. Police in Louisiana were able to reel in a man captured on video swimming through a fish tank at a sporting goods store. Kevin Wise told KSLA that he plunged into the indoor aquarium at a Bass Pro Shop in Bossier City last week to follow through on a promise he made to followers on the social media platform TikTok. He said, quote, "I said that if I get 2,000 likes, I would jump into the tank," unquote. Wise said, "I got way more than that and didn't want to be a liar." The video captured by shopper Treasure McGraw showed Wise swimming through the tank before climbing out and running from the store with wet clothes. "We heard a big splash and I thought it was one of the fish," McGraw told the news outlet. "My fiance was like, somebody's in the tank, and we saw the guy swimming." Bass Pro Shop filed a complaint with the Bossier City Police Department Friday, saying it cost them money to empty out the 13,000-gallon aquarium and clean it after Wise's swim. Wise was charged with simple criminal damage to property and released with a citation.
I think that
What
was
did he damage?
handled well.
I don't know.
Well, I think because they had to
had to
empty it
clean it.
out.
Yeah.
Okay, my first question is, obviously they meant to put the pun in there of we're able to reel in a man, right?
Yeah. When I did my pre-read, I didn't see that, so it caught me off guard.
Little surprise.
That was completely scripted and planned to reel in a man captured on video.
Yeah.
But at least he doesn't want to be a liar.
Well, maybe he made enough money off that little TikTok video that he can pay for his fine or whatever.
Probably not.
As long as he breaks even, he's good.
Yeah.
It's a property crime. He's gonna go to court. He'll do some community service. No big deal. right? I think it was handled well. I don't know why they filed a complaint.
Because they had to empty out 13,000 gallons.
Yeah, but
which
he
means
was
taking
he
the
was
fish
charged
out and
with-
then refill it. So they were probably what's the word I'm looking for? God, I can't think of it.
pissed.
No,
Upset.
like, oh, never mind. Moving on. I'll think of the word later.
Okay. All right. Well, I just think with him being charged for criminal damage to property and release with citation, like that's appropriate. It's a property crime.
Yeah,
They can't charge him with like petty larceny or anything like that.
disturbing the peace. That's what I would have done.
But again, that's probably less than the criminal damage.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. If you have to empty out, at least here in Nevada, if you have to empty out a 13,000 gallon aquarium and clean it, all that labor and water is going to cost you probably.
I wonder if any of the fish actually died.
Yeah. Well, that too. But that's probably going to cost you that'll be at least be a gross miss at the very least here in Nevada.
I mean,
If you do
yes,
damage.
for his damage, but they won't know that price until after.
Right.
It's kind of like with petty larceny; they have to take the receipt and the cost and everything with them. Or like even when somebody breaks a window or something on a car, you have to take the payment with you to prove the payment cost.
Yep.
Yep.
Somebody in chat said the insurance company probably made them file the complaint.
Oh, I could see that. That makes sense
That's
too.
good. It's a good call.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, it
fine.
does.
All right, moving on. We got story time from our work week. We teased last week about somebody running from the cops. So all of our stories are pretty much related running from the cops, in a sense. But for the tease last week, we talked about how it's stupid to run from a motorcycle cop in a car, especially when you're in traffic and you don't know how to drive, because my motorcycle can get around stuff faster than your car can. So I was running radar at an overtime event, my little radar gun, and I was parked in the shade, chilled, kicking back. And the way the radar works is you point it, pull the trigger, and it tells you the speeds of the cars coming at you, but it usually only tells you like the closest car and then the fastest car. And it was popping off at like 62, 63, and I'm like, what the heck? I can't even see this guy yet. And all of a sudden I see this red car coming up, and I was like, oh, yep, that's him. Got him going 62 and a 35. And I pull out of the sidewalk out of my parking spot, and he sees me and he just speeds up.
Gone.
And once it's, well, yeah, he's like, gone. I'm like, oh, great, here we go. So I activate my camera, and he didn't know that, luckily, he didn't know the area very well, or he wouldn't have done what he did. But what's the first thing people always do when they see a cop and they're trying to run from them?
They drive fast.
Make a
Okay.
turn.
Make a turn, yeah. I mean, yeah, they're already driving fast, but yeah, they make a turn because they're like, oh no. And it would have worked if he'd have known the neighborhood. I'll give him that. But he turned onto the side street. I saw him turn, so I make my corner, and we're trained on the motorcycles to be able to maneuver corners pretty quickly, on the road track and all that. So I make my corner, and then I see him making another turn just as I make my corner. Yeah, turn everywhere and zigzag. That's what he should have did. So I see him make another left-hand turn as I come around the corner. And then when I get to that left-hand turn, he's gone. Nowhere to be found. And I'm like, okay. He obviously made another turn. He's been making lefts. So I roll up to the first intersection and it's a neighborhood now. So they're pretty close. All those turns are pretty close together. And I just see dust everywhere going to the left. I'm like, all right. So I roll down there, and I'm just slow cruising. And there's this really old Hispanic guy, and he doesn't speak English. And he's sitting there, and he was changing his tire, but he's just standing there like all awkwardly by his truck. And I look at him, and he looks at me, and then he looks over at this red car, and he looks back at me, and he looks back at the red car. Then I point to the red car, and he like shakes his head really quickly. I'm like, okay, here we go. So I'm thinking they live there. I'm thinking a friend's house, so they're not going to be in the car anymore. So I'm not going to know who's driving. So I'm just going to tow the car and make their day worse. Like, no big deal. Totally had no reason to tow the car, by the way. But I wanted to because I was upset a little bit. So I I walk up, and this, I'm not going to say the term I want to say, but this not educated individual is laying down in the front seat with a white, like a bright white shirt on. Like, windows are tinted and everything, but all I can see is this bright white shirt. So I call out the plate, and then I just sit there and wait, and eventually he just steps out of the car like he doesn't know I'm there. And we put him in handcuffs, and he was like 15. He had no license, wasn't his car, it was his friend's car that was with him.
Wait, he was 15?
Yeah, he was like 15, dude.
Wow,
No
I didn't
driver's
know that.
license. Like,
No permit or anything, huh?
No permit, no nothing. No ID even through the state of Nevada. Like,
Wow.
had to call the school to identify him. Gave him like 8 tickets because he was annoying, but I gave him every single ticket I could give him. And it's the only time I've cited somebody for the full speed that they were going. And it was like 22 or 26 or something like that over the speed limit.
Wow. Did mom come and pick him up?
Yeah, our sister came and picked him up because it was daylight, so he could be released. But, well, we still had to talk to, like, we called mom, called sister, called all of them. But the car wasn't his family's; it was his friend's that was with him, and his friend also didn't have a driver's license. So we had to call friend's dad, and then we did the right thing. Like, we called friend's dad. We didn't tow the car because it wasn't dad's fault. It was dad's only car. Dad was struggling because of Corona, all that stuff.
Did dad know they took the car?
So yeah, dad knew that his son took the car. Didn't know that he let his friend drive. And then when he found out that his friend was going like 26 over, he was furious.
And took
Like,
off
he
the
was
cops?
He was mad because he started to, like, he was mad, but he was also happy. Like, he was happy with us and thanking us, but he was mad at the kid. And then he started like telling his life story because his wife died, and like he's raising the kids by himself, and like it was pretty bad. And we were like, dude, like, if you'd wrecked this car, or your friend would have wrecked this car, it wouldn't have been covered on the insurance. You would have killed somebody. You would have died. Like, your dad would have been screwed.
Yeah.
It was pretty. I hope it was eye-opening for them. The kid that got the tickets didn't care. He still hates us. Whatever. He's one of those like F the police, but hopefully his friend is a little bit smarter now, hanging out with the wrong crowd.
Sometimes it takes something like that for the parents to realize that the kids are hanging out with the wrong crowd.
Yeah, hopefully, because the other kid was pretty respectful. Whether, I don't know why, but like whether he just raised right or he wasn't into that kind of stuff yet or what. But the one kid knew he was in trouble. He was a little punk.
Hey, it's time to play.
Well, someone's dad just joined us.
It's party time. Someone
I was
walked
like,
in and
what?
popped a bottle on a champagne thing. They're like, poof, let's go. These shots aren't going to do themselves.
For real though, jeez Louise.
Oh, yeah. Someone walked in and shotgunned a beer.
Oh my
great.
goodness. All right. Well, I told him that I'd be there for a minute for dinner, but whatever. All right. Now moving on.
Next.
What do you got for us, Flying Fuzz? What's your story of the week?
It's kind of a short one, but it falls into kind of what you were talking about running from the cops. I was doing VC this week, which for everyone that doesn't know is just kind of like valley-wide enforcement, basically. Doing VC, we were down in Southeast, and we saw this car make an abrupt lane change, my partner and I. So we get up next to it, run a plate, and it comes back stolen. And I was like drinking my soda or something when it popped up on the computer, so I was like not ready for it. So I'm like, oh crap, it's stolen. My partner's like, really? He's like, I was like, yeah. So he lights it up like almost right away, and dispatch is like, hey, you copy your stolen car? And I was like, yeah, we'll be at Bonanza in Nellis, or I'm sorry, Boulder Highway in Nellis. So as soon as I say that, and as soon as he hits the lights, the car takes off. And it blows a red at Flamingo and Nellis, which is like right there. It's like a block away. So it blows the red, takes off, high rate of speed. So I get on the radio and I'm like, oh, it just took off, blew the red at Flamingo, negative pursuit, we're making the next right, whatever. And dispatch is like, okay, confirming you don't need the red. I was like, yeah, we don't need the red anymore. And that was that. So then we just cleared and we went to another call. But it's funny because, you know, like yours, you weren't really pursuing, but this one would have been a pursuit, like if we chose to follow, you know. And so I think that's the difference between yours and my stolen car thing. Because if we would have pursued, I guarantee that would have ended in a wreck. Guarantee.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, for sure. And that's the thing. Like nowadays, most people know. So a stolen car, unless it comes back with like a robbery, like stolen in a robbery or something, it doesn't constitute a pursuit. It's
Right.
strictly just a property crime. And I don't know if people know that. That's why they run from us all the
Yeah.
time. But then like a lot of good people that aren't into the criminal stuff, they don't know that. And so they're like, well, why didn't you chase him?
Yeah, and we had our department specifically used to pursue for everything, and we had a series of events that resulted in people dying and community members dying and citizens and stuff because almost always these wrecks or these pursuits turn into accidents, almost always.
That's how they almost always end. Yeah.
Yeah, so people were just dying, and so our department kind of said no.
Which is fine. It's one of those things that changes with the time.
Yeah.
The only thing is you see a
it's
lot
not
of people
worth
with their egos get into it where they don't want to let a car go away. It's like, who cares? We'll get it later.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we always catch up to them, but it's more of like a risk versus reward. Like that's how we're trained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the reward versus the risk worth it? Like if you go and they hit a family and kill a family, which has happened,
Mm-hmm.
is it really worth it for that stolen vehicle? When most of the time it's, oh well, I left my car running outside with the keys in it, and some
Yeah.
homeless dude took it.
Yeah.
There was talking about like leaving your keys in the car. There was a car accident with a rollover, and one of the people were trapped. And a good Samaritan doing the right thing pulled over, got out of his truck, and went to help. And somebody got in his truck and stole the car. Stole the truck.
No way.
Yeah. And we were listening to it like, what?
Wow.
But that's the thing. People are so trusting nowadays. It sucks
Yeah.
to say that you're like that. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I write the citations to taxi drivers. Because you see how fast someone can jump in a car and take off with it.
Well, and the taxi drivers, they just think they own the place. That's
They
why
do.
I get
Kinda
irritated
true.
with them. I'll be right
But-
behind one of them, and he'll be in a right turn only, and he'll take off in front of everybody and get in the left lane.
Yeah. I could spend a whole podcast talking about taxis, but that's for a later day.
That's for a later day. So with my story, the reason it isn't a pursuit is because yes, he saw me and he may be kind of trying to evade me, but there's nothing that indicates that I was trying to stop him. So it's all on him. It's not on us. If I were to hit my lights and sirens and continue to follow him and he wouldn't have slowed down or tried to stop or hit his brake lights, it's on my decision at that point. And sometimes they wreck either way. Sometimes we shut down and we don't pursue them, and then they end up wrecking.
Yeah, and then we get a
that's
call.
different because that's on them. And believe it or not, we still have a few places in our job we still get to say, well, that was on them, where we don't have to be the ones taking responsibility for it. Just have to make sure that you're following policy and you hit your camera when you light it up, and when it takes off, you're on camera pulling over to the right before you turn your camera off, because there have been instances where people will turn the camera off and then they follow the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like my job too much.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't want to get fired, especially in today's times.
Yeah.
Today's
No
world.
thanks.
You won't just get fired, you'll get prosecuted today.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, that's enough of politics.
Yeah.
You brought it up. Any other talking points, differences in those two stories, or questions about pursuits or anything like that? No?
Nothing
All
that I
right.
have. No.
Yeah.
Roxas, what do you got for us today?
Okay, so this was a fun one. So Fly and Fuzz and I were sitting down for lunch, and he gets a phone call from detectives in our area command. They explained that they have this truck. It was a truck, right? Flying Fuzz?
Yep.
So they had a truck that was found by a neighbor. They said it was very, very suspicious. It got driven up into their area, dumped off. Like 4 people got out of it and took off. Well, they said that one of the guys. What's that?
Yeah, go ahead. No.
They said that one of the guys looked like somebody that was played on the news for being a robbery suspect. So that's why the guy called in and said, no, that's him. He was in the car. So detectives go out there and take a look at it. They're like, yeah, the ignition is punched on it. Like, it looks like it was stolen. It was kind of just dropped off. So they call us and they want us to go down to the registered owner's address and find out if the car is stolen. So Flying Fuzz and I, we roll down to this house. It's later on at night, knock on the door. Mom answers the door in a moo-moo. She's like, well, the cop's at my door. So we start talking to her, and she has no idea what's really going on because it's her daughter's car. So she's like, well, let me call her up. To call up the daughter, who actually owns the car. They left the car somewhere, went out for an anniversary dinner. Well, she's like, no, the car should have been left over here, this and that. So we're like, all right, well, can we come talk to you face to face? So she tells us she's down at some restaurant for her anniversary. So we got to go further south to get to it. Well, on our way down to this place to meet face to face with her, she shows up to the truck, exactly where it is. We never told her where this truck was at. So that's what the funny part is that I didn't think about until like later on. That she shows up to the truck, like 5 to 6 people deep with a couple of cars. They're like, that car is not stolen. That's my car. So PD just confirms that it's hers, and they end up just letting her go. Well, when we go back, we get a phone call of everything happening. So we go back to the station. We're talking to PD, and they're explaining everything to us. They said it was funny because this newer Buick came up, and it had a license plate on the back that was the same license plate as was on the truck that we thought was stolen. So they took the front plate on the truck, they pulled it off of it, and they put it on a completely other truck, on a Buick, a white Buick. And they just let everything go. They're like, this is a mess. We're just letting everyone go. We don't even care anymore. So night goes by. We're out doing our own thing. We go out to a couple of calls. Well, as I'm getting ready to come up behind Flying Fuzz on some guy, I see this white car in front of me, this white Buick, and it has a license plate on the back. Now, I didn't pay attention to the license plate at first. I just started to look at it, and it didn't have the sticker in the corner like they normally do. It tells when it expires. So I run the plate. It comes back that it's supposed to be on a Chevy, and it's on a Buick. I'm like, hey, Flying Fuzz, I think that I got a cold-plated car. And I look at it, and the name matches the person from before. I was like, it's them. It's like, I found the car that they put the wrong plate on. I'm following it for a second. I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait for it to park because we were in downtown Fremont area. I was like, I'm going to wait for it to park. I'm going to take the plate. I'm going to give them all kinds of tickets for this stuff. So they pull over. I pull over ahead of them. They look like they wanted to park there. Well, then they get back on the car and they kind of just go around the corner and they kind of disappear. So I go back to Flying Fuzz. I was like, hey, I just found the car. I'm sure that they're coming down here to party. Even though they saw me looking at their car, these people aren't very intelligent people, so they're going to stay here and party anyways. So
They're not very intelligent people.
It's true. When someone does something and they think that they get a close call and they're like, hey, you know what? Maybe I should cut my losses and go home. Well, that's not the vast majority. Those people are going to continue to party and have a good night. So we knew that this vehicle was going to be in the area. So we finished up with Flying Fuzz's call, and we decided that with the last hour and a half, we were going to go and find this car. So we spent a good, I think, what was it, an hour of that time?
No, I think it was like, because I went to that call at like 11, so like an hour to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but that call was quick because medical was already there, and it was pretty much medical only call anyway. So then you rolled up and you're like, hey, I found the car. And it was only like maybe 11:10 at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were looking for the car for a good like 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah. So we hunted. We looked in the parking lot that was down the street, all the side streets and the parking spots. We checked a couple of the casino parking garages all the way up to the top floor, all the way back down the other side. We couldn't find it. So it's like 15 minutes before we're going to go in. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do one more lap around here, and then we're going to head back to the station and do some stuff. So I go back around to where I saw it the first time, come down a side street, and I take a left at one of the streets there, and boom, there it is. 2 spots back from where it originally parked at. So I call Flying Fuzz up. I'm like, hey, got the car. We're right over here on 3rd and Ogden. So he comes up behind me. So we take the license plate from it, and then we give it 2 citations because it wasn't occupied, so there wasn't more we could do to it. So it was unregistered, and then it was parked in a spot that's for immediate pickup drop-off only. So I gave him two pretty hefty tickets for just parking in this spot. And then we went about our day, went back home, and that was it.
To be continued. Wait
To be
till this
continued.
complaints start rolling in.
Yeah, what happened? Well, the detectives would want to take care of it on the spot, but that didn't mean that we weren't going to.
Doesn't mean that we can.
Yep.
On average, how many tickets do you guys write, like, a night?
It depends on what we're writing tickets for.
Yeah.
Well, it was more so on bikes that you guys wrote a lot of tickets.
Yeah,
Right.
we wrote
Well,
a crap ton of tickets on
That's
bikes.
the difference, too. When we wrote tickets on bikes, you didn't have to do reports for everything. When we were on bikes, we didn't have to worry about that.
True.
So the amount of tickets that we wrote, even for just misdemeanors, was substantially more.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, like, but for parking and traffic, though, like, because a lot of people don't know that there is basically anything you can get a ticket for. There is so many things that you can be written a ticket for, and it's not like we go out and do it all the time, but it's there available if we need it.
Yeah, it's one
Yeah.
of those things. It's like, it just depends how much the law you read into.
I mean, in that new Chuck thing, it doesn't affect me. I still write as many tickets as I can. Like when I did VC, I wrote 2 misdemeanor tickets, so that's 2 Chucks that I had to do.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't bother me one bit. And that's not what I'm thinking about when I'm deciding on enforcement action.
Yeah.
What's your guys' like ticket max? Most you've ever written in one night?
Oof.
Together, we hit Ubers hardcore on Fremont and the Boulevard one night, and I think we got up to like 20.
Yeah.
But we got up to like 20 in like a couple hours.
Yeah. We
Jeez Louise.
we pressed hard that night. It was like a Tom unit overtime.
Yeah.
Tom unit overtime. Hey, I struggled this last Tom unit overtime, man. It was pedestrians and it was west side, and I was like, dude, there's nowhere.
You're burning yourself out.
Downtown's easy. Like when it's east side area commands, I just go to downtown, write my tickets. I'm good to go. I'll get like 10 tickets in, 15 stops. I'm good. But west side, man, I was struggling. I was just running radar all night. It was the only tickets I got were like speeding. It's
Oh, really?
ridiculous. Yeah. All right. Any other stories, comments, anything like that before we move on to some questions? We do have some good questions that are probably going to take up a good amount of time.
I don't know. Did we have anything else happen this week, Roxas?
Just
Didn't we have
my
something
job
happen?
flashing before my eyes last night, but that's a long story for a later time.
You can tell that one later.
Yeah, that's going to be a long one because there's backstories to everything.
What happened on Saturday? Didn't we have something happen on Saturday? I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I gotta start writing
Work
this
week's a
down.
blur now. You know what? I'm gonna have to dedicate like the back page of my notebook to what we did.
Yeah.
So no.
Nope, nothing interesting. Sorry.
We have 4 questions, 2 of which are probably going to take a little bit of discussion. This first one is from Travis. So Travis wants to know, why do cops want to be cops right now, like in today's world? So I think we should just go like in order, like maybe Roxas, Flying Fuzz, and then myself, and we'll just give an answer, a little discussion about it maybe, and then move on to the next.
Okay, I can start. So, I mean, it's one of those things. It's like you have to know what you want out of the job. You don't go into a job just to get into a job. You have a goal. Everyone has a goal. So it's like I know where I want to go in the department. Flying Fuzz knows exactly by his name where he wants to go. So because of the stuff that's going on around us, it doesn't really change too much. It's like, is it going to make the job harder? Yes, it's always going to make the job harder. But that doesn't mean that we don't still want to do the job. Now, there are some things that are coming through that are making it unsafe for police right now, which is like the the immunity deal, like that stuff is that's going to get your livelihood caught up. Like, we all know that the job is dangerous. We know what we're here doing. We know what we're doing for that. But that kind of stuff is affecting your home life too. So that's one of those reasons why I think that some people are trying to get out, which it does make sense. I mean, if it came down to that, it'd be a real long thought process for me on, is it worth staying with some place that if I put the handcuffs on someone wrong and pinch their skin and cause them a bleed, that I'm going to lose my house. So you got to weigh everything. That's pretty much how I'm looking at it.
Flying, do you have anything, or are you just gonna be quiet?
I'm thinking of a reply here.
Okay.
I've wanted to be a cop my whole life. Went to school for it and stuff. And I've definitely, when all this started having thoughts about Plan B and stuff like that. Like, we do it to help our community, but when the community starts to ignore all the help we're providing and just looking at all the negative, when all the good far outweighs all that. I mean, there are bad cops out there. We've all said it. Like, it just bothers me. Yeah, I have my dream of where I want to go, but I also have a plan B. That's why I didn't go to school for I didn't go to college for law enforcement. I went to high school for it. So I kind of got two routes I can go. I didn't burn bridges at my last company. They'd take me back in a heartbeat. So right now I'm still a cop. Yeah, right now I'm still a cop. I don't plan on quitting anytime soon, but I do have a plan B. I don't know about you guys. I think we talked about it a little bit last week with Dom, how he's kind of already started working on plan B to get out of it. So I don't know. I don't really have anything else to add to the discussion, I guess.
It's going to be one of those things that the times are going to choose for us.
Yeah,
I think that's what I think, depending on what comes up.
So, I mean, why do cops want to be cops right now? I don't know. I think some of them, yeah, we still want to help, but I also think that some of them, probably this is the only thing they've ever known. Like our sergeant, he was in the military and then he was a cop, so like this kind of line of work is all he really knows, So, I don't know.
It's true. Yeah, it's like some people you can't see going to be a door greeter at Walmart.
Yeah.
I could definitely not see your sergeant doing that. He'd be terrible. He'd be terrible at it. He barely greets you guys when you walk in. No, I think as far as when the cops want to be cops right now, it does come down to like, one, maybe they don't fully understand it, the stress or the adrenaline or the paperwork or what have you. They just think it's cool, and so that kind of draws their attention. But I think a majority of it is people want to help. People, they want a sense of purpose, and it's a job that makes a difference. Whether people see that or not, it's very thankless, but you know that you're making a difference. And we all have hundreds and thousands of stories that we've either been through or heard where we've made a difference. Nobody else knows except the individual that we talk to.
Yeah.
But we've made a difference.
Yeah.
And I think that's the number one thing. But I do think you will see a lot of officers, depending on the politics behind it, which we won't go into, where things go, you'll see a lot of officers leave. Like,
a lot of good officers too.
When things happens, I'll leave. Like, I signed up to help people, to protect people, to make a difference, to warrant change and to have change. But I will risk my life for you, but I won't risk my livelihood for you. If that makes sense. Like, I'll take a bullet for you. I'll run towards the gunfire and try to help you, like what have you, but I'm not going to perform CPR on you and then have you save your life and then you try to fight me and come back and sue me because you hurt your leg because you wanted to fight after I saved your life. Like, I won't have that, and I won't lose my house to you because, like, Roxas said, oh, you pinch yourself, or you have a medical condition that when you get stressed, your wrists flare up,
Mhm.
and we just have handcuffs on you because other officers didn't know what they were doing. Like, no, you're not going to come at me and sue my family and me personally. Sue the department all you want, but you're not going to sue me personally. And I think that's going to be what pushes people out, either early retirement or they just leave. And then guess what? Everybody's going to be left with the bad cops.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, enough of that nonsense. This one's kind of a broad question, and we debated not even putting it in because
I think it's a good one. I think it's a good question.
well, we were talking about it. We're like, there's no way to answer that except like a really mean way. But this is from
Oh,
Nyla. By the way, all of these, Travis and Nyla, were recruited by Jessica. So, Glitz and Glam, I think, is her Instagram.
Oh, okay.
She's super cop friendly, super marketing woman on Instagram with her like nails that she does and stuff.
She's been one of my
recruited by
top
her.
Instagram fans lately.
Anyways, so this next one's from Nyla. It says, "Why are some cops nicer than others?" Roxas.
I think it's an easy one. It's people in general. So you get, I mean, in every job that you get people from all walks of life. Now, some people are here and they do the job as kind of like, I would say, a robot. Like they show up to the job, they do what needs to be done, and then they go about the rest of their day. And then there's people like me that I've had a few years of life experience before being this, and I can have a conversation with people. I've had it several times flying, like haven't we just sat there and had conversation with people on Fremont Street? It's like someone asked for a restaurant, and it's like, oh, I got a couple of restaurants in mind. What are you guys hungry for? Like, it just depends. It depends on how you talk to people. Like, some people are really good at talking to people, and just some people are just not. I mean, it's not that they're nicer or meaner. It's just some people are just straightforward. That if you ask them a question, they're going to give you an answer and shoo you away, and that's the end of it. It's not like they're, they don't care. It's just that's just the way that they talk to people. So, I mean, some people probably rub off differently depending on how they come off, but I think it just depends on experience.
That's a good point. I tend to come off a little abrasive sometimes on calls.
Mm-hmm.
So.
No way.
Yeah.
Dry flying fuzz? No way.
The one that gets on the podcast and just says, hey.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean,
It doesn't mean he doesn't care.
Right.
That's what I was getting at.
What do you have, Dad, flying?
Not just did.
He did.
Just that?
He was defending that he's not mean. He just comes off dry. That's it.
I think it's all circumstantial. I think it's not only dependent on our attitude, but it's dependent on the individual's attitude.
100%.
And I think I too like to have. I'd never shut up. You guys have worked with me. I never stop talking. I don't know when to stop talking. I don't know when to shut my mouth. It's an issue. Whatever.
Yeah, we talked about it last night a little bit.
Essentially, I think it comes down to circumstances. Like if I'm dealing with something, I typically tend to leave my personal life out of the way I treat people, and I'm actually usually too nice to people. I'll give people that. Like I give people warnings all the time. I'm usually too nice. I like to be that person that people are like, oh wow, he could have gave me a ticket, but he was really nice. I like that. But if you come up to me and I'm sitting on a perimeter for a shooting, and you're trying to come into the scene while we're trying to render aid to a victim, and you won't move, like you're gonna get pushed back, you're gonna get yelled at, you're gonna get thrown in cuffs. Like it's all circumstantial. So sometimes I would challenge that. Sometimes maybe the cops that are nicer don't have a legal reason to do anything more, so they'd be nicer to protect themselves rather than get baited by individuals baiting them. Or I would challenge that cops that are meaner have a purpose to accomplish something, and you're hindering them from accomplishing that.
Yeah, and don't confuse a cop being dry or abrasive as rude.
Some people are just not as social, like Flying Fuzz over here.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. So Jessica brought this question up to us. It's more of a talking point, I think. I researched it, but I wasn't able to find a legit answer, especially for Nevada. So it says, I heard that you can't wear a mask while concealing a firearm with a CCW, obviously. Is this true? Roxas, any thoughts, talking points?
I don't know where I saw it at, but I did see something about it. I don't remember if it was a news story. Hold on, let me see if I can find it here. But I'm pretty sure that it was either a news story from like Nevada itself, or the department put out something. But they said that no, you can wear a mask and have your CCW. So while you guys
Yeah,
are chatting,
so-
I'm going to see if I can pull it up.
Flyin, do you have anything for that?
No, I've never been told you can't wear a mask if you're CCW. I will add this: if you have a valid CCW permit, it was issued to you for a reason. Like you're not a bad person, and generally the CCW carriers are our least concern.
Yes.
It's the people that are doing it that don't have the CCW that are breaking the law that are our biggest concern.
And the thing is, it's not like
Exactly.
to scare anybody, but like when you apply for your CCW, your fingerprints are taken, your identity is like stored. Like we know who you are.
Yeah. So when I researched it, what I found a couple news articles, nothing from Nevada, but apparently in like Illinois, the state law says that you're in illegal possession of a firearm if you're like attempting to conceal your identity or have a mask or like a hood pulled down or things like that. And essentially what the conclusion was with that is that kind of what Flyin says, you're not going to have an issue with officers writing a citation or taking you to jail for that if you're law-abiding citizen.
Yes.
My personal answer for it is nobody should know you have the gun on you.
Exactly. Yeah. So I found the news article too. So it post circulating on the internet says those with a concealed carry weapon permit who wear a mask in public will nullify your ability to carry concealed. That says Churchill County Sheriff Richard Hickox said he read through Nevada law governing concealed carry and did not locate anything to support this claim. Hickox says the local district attorney also seconded his research. Says Hickox says there is nothing in the state law that says if you have a CCW permit that wearing a mask in public in any way nullifies or invalidates the permit. So even before all this happened, there was no law against it. So done and done.
Yeah, so there's a solidified answer for you. This one's going to cause a lot of controversy. Who is the number one frontline first responders? Police, firefighters, paramedics, or others? I'm going to take the higher road here and say it depends on what's
What's
you're
needed.
responding to.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
If it's a rollover accident, the cops are going to be there first, but they're not going to do much. There's
Well,
times
even
when
that would
happens,
depend.
but
Yeah.
Because we had a fatal in downtown a few weeks ago, and FD was there before we were, and I was actually surprised
well,
because we were down
yeah,
the road.
but most likely, like, we're usually there first on most things because we're out and about.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it makes sense. But whether or not we are the first responder, because when we show up, if there's an accident, somebody's trapped and we cannot get them out, the firefighters are essentially the first responders at that point. We're there blocking traffic, but we're not doing anything. The
Yeah.
firefighters are the ones that help and rule in that. Paramedics are second to everybody. Nah, I guess I can't say that. If it's a strict medical call and there's no other issues, right, then they can go first.
Yeah.
Essentially, we go if it needs to be made safe before life-saving measures are taken. That's what we do. So we're the fighters and the protectors. Firefighters are the lifesavers, and the paramedics deal with the drunk people.
Which is why everyone hates the police.
Exactly, because we enforce. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Somebody please say that firefighters just are second responders.
Well,
so we can just
Well, in Nevada
we
they
had
are.
we had a house fire on my VC night too. In addition to that stolen car, we had a house fire, and we showed up and we helped with evacuations and stuff. But at the end of the day, you should have seen all the cops running and getting their cars out of the way to make sure that FD can get in there. And once FD shows up, it's their scene, and they're dragging their hoses around and they're running the scene. So I don't know. It just depends, like you said, on what's going on and what the.
Somebody in chat said that detectives are second responders. True. Any last questions before we go into this outro and closing? I've got to go to work tonight. Flying Fuzz is coming with me. I'm so excited. Roxas is doing whatever Roxas does. Are you gonna stream tonight?
Yeah, I'm actually going to dedicate this stream to Scarlett actually, because she's been wanting me to play Little Nightmares. So I'm gonna as soon as we're done here, I'm gonna start up Little Nightmares, and we're gonna play through. So she's watching her stream. Let her know.
You heard the man. Roxas89 on Twitch. Little Nightmares tonight. I'm gonna tease the story here really quick. I know you guys don't have. So my stories, I write them all down just because I like to remember them, or I won't remember them if I don't. So I'm going to tease a story here really quick. 2 of them, actually. One of them, I'm going to kind of make fun of you patrol guys a little bit because I have never seen anything more disastrous than downtown Graveyard patrol guys running around looking for somebody that I tell them to go grab.
I believe it.
You're not wrong.
I kid you not. When I say they were running around like chickens with their heads cut off, like, I mean it.
It's true. That's part of why we got off Graveyard. Those are the stories we're going to talk about next week, and I'll try and find a game. We can play a game next week.
Definitely. Or at least Karen reviews. That was a...
Did you say Karen reviews?
Yeah. Look up random reviews.
Nice.
All right. Well, we're going to go on that note. My random advice, I'm going to have to leave some random advice with you guys. Don't do drugs. That's it. That's all I got.
Oh, you're such a hypocrite.
Wow.
Whoa. How am I a hypocrite?
Didn't you try some drugs?
I mean, I think I said that last night. I tried... Okay, we're not talking about this. Yes, I've tried marijuana. Yes, I've drank. I'm not a perfect person like Flying Fuzz is over here.
What does that mean, Roxas?
What? I was just laughing.
We're not going into
I was just laughing. Then he assumes we're all perfect.
No,
I assume
Fuzz is
everyone's perfect.
Fuzz is pretty dang close. All right, folks. That's it. Everybody stay safe. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.